Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your March 2018 mid-month general readings. Thank you for joining us here today. Welcome any newcomers. As always, thanks for your likes, shares, subscribes, and all your support and feedback. And a big thank you to all of my clients out there, both regular and new, for keeping me so busy with personal readings. If any of you are interested in a personal reading with me and you haven't read with me before, you can get more information and my contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage, clicking on the About button, and you'll see more info. And how to contact me, which is through email, typically for the traditional readings. Turnaround time for personal readings is pretty fast because I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I'm usually able to respond to your initial contact within 24 hours, and scheduling can be anywhere from a few days or upwards of a couple of weeks, but almost always within a 2-week period of time or so we can schedule a personal reading for you, live or recorded. For those of you who are not looking for the more traditional, in-depth, intensive readings, you just maybe have something quick you want to look at, or you have a decision you need to make on the fly, you can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo, which is a great way of connecting with me more quickly, again for the non-traditional, just like fast answers to quick questions sort of thing. They have a one question, one answer option. You can open it up for a little short read via text. They also have a phone audio option and a video chat option as well. So those of you who are interested in that and not the traditional in-depth readings, you can connect with me quickly that way. It is called Instantgo, and you can find me under my profile name there, Irish Gypsy. You'll also find that information here on YouTube by clicking on the About button, and it's also attached to the description of all the videos I post. Alright, let's get right into this reading. This is for the fire sign of Leo for the remainder of March. The last half of March is what we're basically looking at. I am recording these in the second week of March. Try to watch your rising and your moon sign videos too if you know them. That can give you additional insight and clarification, and one of them may play out a little more predictably for you than your primary sun sign, some readings. So try to do that if you can, because it's general readings. They often mean different things to different people because there's so many of you watching and everybody's so different. Everybody has different things going on in their lives. The energy remains the same even if it resonates in one area of life for some of you Leos and another area of life for other Leos. The energy and advice typically remains the same. Okay, Leo, let's see what the remainder of March 2018 has in store for you. We begin with the 7 of Swords, followed by the 6 of Swords. We have the High Priestess, followed by the Queen of Cups. And from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy for the last half of March and guidance is the 10 of Cups. Beautiful energy, Leo. Let me just take a look here. It's air and water for elemental signs. You have 2 Swords cards and 2 Cup cards and 1 Major Arcana card. So a lot of internal thought kind of stuff going around in your head, which is the energy of Swords. It's all about what goes on up here, how we look at things, our belief systems, our perspectives and outlooks, truth, clarity. It's that mental, internal, psychological energy which greatly influences the way that we see the world, people in the world, and relate to them as well. And Cups is here. It's the heart. Cups and the tarot, that energy is emotional. It's feelings, emotions, and relationships as well. So that's the focus for the last half of March. I feel a strong sense of healing. It feels like a kind of a quiet couple of weeks, Leo. There's a healing. It feels like for some of you, for a lot of you, something is being laid to rest, or some kind of long-standing issue. For a lot of you, perhaps dealing with family in some way. Some of you, there's physical healing as well. We begin with the 7 of Swords and the 6 of Swords. And then we transition into the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups, and we'll go through it. But a lot of these cards imply inner stuff or keeping things inside, and I don't think it's going to be a very, noisy couple of weeks for you, except maybe internally. So the 7 of Swords traditionally often referred to as sometimes as a thief card, and it can represent deception. Things not being what they appear to be, or being different in behind the scenes than what they appear to be. So it can sometimes represent, you know, deception, slipperiness. I mean, it could be actual theft, you know, actual theft, deception, and lies as well. But, you know, of course, as most experienced psychics know, it's no card is a standalone in a spread. You kind of have to look at everything all together. The thief card often gets a bad rap because it's also about kind of maybe operating undercover, or keeping things close to your chest, keeping something to yourself, which could be technically a secret, but, you know, not in a negative or harmful way. This isn't a secret perhaps that harms other people. And it's accompanied and clarified, Leo, by the Six of Swords, which is a card that has a quiet but strong energy of healing. It's peace, restoration, healing. It's moving away from a chaotic or painful or troubled or challenging time or situation or state of mind, and moving into a place that's much more serene and placid. It's healing. It's quiet. It's a transitional energy, meaning that this woman is in transition, and it often represents a healing process. So it means that you've left the kind of the incident itself, or the pain, or the actual brokenness of whatever it is you're healing from. Some of you, this may be actual physical healing as well, behind you. So the worst is behind you, or that you're moving away from the source of pain or a challenge. If you could see the water behind this boat, it would be choppy and wavy and turbulent. And she's moving away from that into waters that, as you can see, are more smooth and placid and serene. We're always making up new words here on YouTube. She's not quite to the other shore yet, so it's transitional. This is in movement. It's a motion card. You've left the worst behind you, or you're moving away from the source of, you know, whatever the issue is. You're not quite to the other shore yet, where you're on solid ground and everything is completed, but you're definitely moving through that. And the healing process too, Leo, as we all know, the analogy, you could use surgery. Sometimes there is pain in the healing process sometimes. I mean, if you have surgery or you're recovering from a physical illness, when you're healing, especially in the early stages, you know, some days are better than others when you're recovering from surgery, especially in the initial recovery period. You know, there's some days that have some pain to them, but overall it's a process. It's getting better bit by bit until you come to a place where you're healed. There may be scars, yes, but you're healed. And the fact that she's taking these swords with her, I mean, swords imply thought and belief systems. It's always a bit of cautionary advice sometimes with the Six of Swords too. Wherever you go, there you are. Whatever we have inside of us, we take with us. So I often like to remember, when I look at the Six of Swords, that as you move through the healing process, healing means that what you don't need, the negativity, you're leaving that behind. You're dealing with it bit by bit and piece by piece, and you're leaving that behind, which is why it's a transitional energy. So the Seven of Swords and the Six of Swords together. I mean, the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups is all about spirituality, divine intuition, touching base with your feelings, trusting in your intuition. You know, I feel like a lot of you are in some kind of healing process, and you may not be sharing it a lot with other people, which for some of you is maybe what the Seven of Swords represents, because it can represent, you know, keeping things more to yourself, not really talking about what you're going through too much, except maybe with, you know, a few trusted people or a partner or something of that kind, of best friend. Keeping things off the grid as you're moving through this healing process, because it's feels like a quiet internal energy. The majority of the bulk of the 4 cards in the bulk of your reading it's all internal energy, heart and head, thoughts and emotions and feelings. Some of you may be healing. Let me just turn my phone volume down here. It always goes off at the most inopportune time. I apologize for that, Leo. Some of you may in fact be actually healing from, you know, somebody's deception, lies, deceit of some kind, or maybe you're recovering from, being taken from or exploited in some way. It could be actual dollars and cents. It could be this could be a very concrete energy for, a lot of you. I mean, it's a general reading, so it's going to resonate differently. The energy remains the same. There is a healing. I think a lot of you it's more of an internal process. You may not be sharing this or talking about it a lot. Some of you, because I feel like for a lot of you, what you're dealing with or what you're moving away from is old. It feels really kind of old and cobwebby, and it feels like for a lot of you that it's connected to home and family somehow, but that there's something that's finally being laid to rest is what I'm hearing. And some of you, this healing may be an actual concrete issue, like you were stolen from, or somebody that you trusted really betrayed you, or maybe you felt taken advantage of or exploited in some way, whether emotionally or financially, or a combination of all of those two. Again, you're moving through this healing process. Maybe some of you in connection with family and home, because I am getting this. There's some old issue, maybe stemming from childhood or something that, even though it may not have been an active issue, it's just something that was always kind of bubbling underneath. It could be to do with how you were raised, or maybe even some deceptions, or facts, or stories, or history, or something that you were told that proved not to be true, and you're kind of dealing with that. But it feels like it is healing. You are healing from something. And I think for a lot of you, it feels like it's something old, but whatever has happened, whatever the details and specifics of the situation, because they're going to vary, there's a sense that something is being laid to rest. Like maybe something that has been sleeping rather restlessly inside of you, Leo, is finally at peace, or you're in the process of that. But you're thinking a lot about it. There's a lot of this internal energy thinking about that. How do I feel about this now? How did I feel about this before? How did this affect who I am? How did this affect the way that I see myself, the way that I see the world, the way that I operate in relationships? Something that I thought was true, perhaps for some of you, turned out not to be true. And it's about kind of finally dealing with that and laying it to rest, and having resolution. And that's what resolution and healing actually means. It doesn't negate what happened. It doesn't change the past, because of course nothing can do that. But it's about something being laid to rest so that it no longer has a significant influence or factor in our lives anymore. Especially old issues, Leo, because as we all know, they can often, in small and big ways, affect how we look at ourselves and how we relate to other people. So something's being laid to rest in March, or the process is significant. The focus is on that. At or towards the end of March 2018, we have the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups. This is an incredible combination of cards to have, Leo, because these two women in the tarot are very, very similar to each other. There is a deep, deep sense of spirituality, of being connected with your intuition, divine intuition. Intuition is our connection to the divine. It's the method by which we get, dreams, flashes of insight, things which seem to come out of nowhere. It's our connection. It's our connection to that. That's our intuition, gut instinct. The High Priestess. That's what she is. She's the High Priestess. Highly spiritual individual. This is about deep spirituality, and this is also about trusting in your intuition. It's about paying attention to things that are not quite so linear. Paying attention to your dreams, paying attention to flashes of insight you might get, or things which seem random that come out of nowhere, and allowing that to lead you and just kind of formulate. It's a quiet energy too, because the High Priestess, she's wise, she's spiritual, she observes, she sees a lot, she sits back and kind of watches things, and she lets them kind of settle in, and she waits for that spiritual intuition, that spiritual connection to kind of guide her. That's what our intuition does. It kind of guides us. It compels us in one way or the other. We feel a sense of that. Sometimes, and it can be difficult to do, perhaps, especially in the kind of world that we live in today, Leo, when we're, sometimes The High Priestess can represent trusting what you cannot see, and instead trusting on what you feel or what your intuition is saying, even if it sometimes contradicts what seems to be what you're seeing in the real world, in the tangible world, what's concrete in front of you. And that's not always an easy thing to do, particularly in a situation where you might be, healing from something. It might be difficult, especially from old wounds or old hurts or old grievances, as I think a lot of you are. Other people around us, or opinions, or our own experience, and kind of this broken world we live in can lead us to being jaded and cynical and just trusting only in what we can see and touch and feel. And the High Priestess is about something different. She's about trusting in what we cannot see, trusting in what we feel, trusting in our intuition, not even necessarily feelings, because we have thoughts and we have feelings, and then underneath that is your connection to God, Spirit, your angels and guides, intuitive connection, intuitive ability. So you may want to pay some extra attention over the last half of March, Leo, to your intuition, to your gut instinct, to what that tells you, to any flashes of wisdom or insight or clarity, especially if you're going through a healing process, especially if it's an old one. It has to, some kind of something which is being laid to rest, or there's an opportunity for that healing coming up. Go into it kind of deeper. Think about it. It may not be, it feels like a time period, these next couple of weeks, where you're thinking and you're feeling, and you're not quite out there so much. You may be paying more attention to your dreams, to little connections that you make. The healing process, the internal and emotional healing process, can often be about, we get these flashes of wisdom and insight that helps us understand something which has been difficult or not possible for us to understand in the past. And wisdom is about having our eyes open and being able to see it and understand it in a better way, so that we can lay it to rest and move on. And the High Priestess is the perfect epitome of that kind of divine connection and intuition and wisdom. So pay attention to all of that over the next couple of weeks, and really let it help you and guide you through this process. So the High Priestess is paired with the Queen of Cups, which is a very similar sort of energy, a very similar sort of person. Out of all the court cards in the tarot, I see the Queen of Cups as being the closest in personality and spiritual nature as the High Priestess. And typically, just on an energetic level, if it's not representing an actual person, just on an energetic level, when the Queen of Cups shows up, it's always a piece of advice, a guidance to going within and seeing how you actually feel about something. What are your feelings telling you? And go deeper than that. What does your intuition tell you about something? It may conflict with what you might be hearing externally, or what you might be seeing externally, or what you might be tempted to kind of hold on to. But the Queen of Cups is about going inside and kind of touching base with your feelings, especially if you have to make a decision, you're going through a process. This feels very individual and personal to me, Leo. You may be getting whatever process you're going through in this, whichever part of the story is resonating for you. You may be hearing stuff from other people, or friends or family, well-meaning, but they may be saying, well, you don't have to do this, or I wouldn't forgive this person, or I wouldn't do, whatever. And the reasons may be completely valid. Maybe some of you were hurt quite badly. But I think you're being asked to kind of elevate yourself above that a little bit, and then go within and touch base. What is the important thing here? Remember, it's healing. It's about moving. It's about healing. And when we get attached to something, attached to a mindset, attached to a belief, attached to the pain and our bitterness, and you hurt me and I'm never going to, it stops this healing process. It's like those thoughts and emotions and feelings come by in the water, and instead of acknowledging them and letting them go by, we throw an anchor to it and we attach ourselves to it, which stops our movement. It stops our healing process. So whatever this is, it may bring up some old memories, old hurts. Part of the healing process emotionally sometimes is grieving. That may come up. It's completely natural, but let it go by. Envision yourself in this boat, Leo. And those thoughts and emotions and hurts and pains and bitterness and regret and anger and all of that, totally true, totally valid. Acknowledge them as they go by, but don't anchor yourself to it, because remember, the point is to keep moving in this healing process. And trust your feelings, trust in your intuitive ability. Those of you who have a specific connection to God, Spirit, your angels, guides, some religious path, ask for extra help and clarification, and pay attention to what comes back in dreams and thoughts and flashes of insight and wisdom. Your overall energy is lovely. It's the Ten of Cups, often nicknamed the happily ever after, the happy home card. Tens, and there is a connection to home and family. This can represent marriage, family, home, blessings. It's home, whatever that kind of brings up in your mind in the best sort of sense. Home, family. But also tens in the tarot represent a cycle coming to an end, something coming to a culmination, an achievement. Something is finished, something is completed. The pieces are finally coming together in a way that is quite beautiful and lovely and positive with this in the upright position. And for some of you, I mean, it could be something different. I mean, it could be, it can represent marriage and childbirth. But I think for a lot of you, whatever the details are, there's a strong connection to home and family. It feels like something is being finally laid to rest here, or there's an opportunity for it. It is not without its painful moments. Just remember that analogy. Don't anchor yourself to those old hurts, old wounds, old grievances, old feelings, old thought patterns, old belief systems. Acknowledge them, but let them go by. Don't anchor yourself to it. Remember, this is healing. It's actually a lovely energy, Leo. And again, I'm a pretty realistic, grounded person. Healing, there is some painful moments. There may be some grief and loss and some old issues that come up. Just let it go, let it flow, let it kind of be more organic, if that makes sense to you guys. Okay, Leo, that pretty much sums up your March 2018 mid-month general reading. Thank you so much for watching it. Again, if any of you are interested in a more personal one-on-one reading with me, just go to my YouTube channel's homepage, click on that About button for more information and my contact details. You'll also find those on the description of every video I post. Feel free to email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you and set up a reading for you just as quickly as we can. For those of you not looking for the traditional in-depth readings, you just want a really fast sort of connection, or you have a decision or something you need to take a quick look at, you can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That's also with my contact info. Take care, Leo. Remember that, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. I will see you all again in a couple more weeks for the April 2018 general readings. And until then, as always, be well. And I wish you well. Take care. Bye-bye.